With that, I think we're going to pass the wand down there to Melissa at the end, who, after implementing digital design centers in hundreds of different builders and tens of thousands of design centers all around, I think you're going to myth bust some of the objections that people might have or concerns they might have about starting down this path.
Yes, we're going to do Mythbusters. And the reason we're doing this, it's very therapeutic for me. Every time I meet with a builder, and this is almost 20 years now that we've had the online design center, which actually we're morphing the language because it isn't actually just about options and all optionality. It's about personalization. But every time I meet with a builder, they go, that is so cool. Yeah, we got to do that someday. And that's just code for you are not on a path, you're not going to do it. Because you look at it and you go, oh my God, that's how I design my tennis shoes. Oh my God, that's how I design my car. Oh my God, it's like Amazon, it has recommendations. Oh my God, it's transparent. You get it, right? You get that consumers really need this and shoppers need it. But somehow it's our business and it's really hard. So we come up with all these reasons and excuses. So there's like 100 of them. So I just picked a few. And we're going to just walk through those and try to bust some of them. But let's start with what we know. And these are not myths. These are things that we know. And we've been at this for almost 20 years. We make more money. And that is if you provide options. Now, if you are completely, everything's included or all is included, that's not your focus. You still care about the personalization and you care about some of these other bullets as well, which is we have fewer cancellations. If I've gone online and I've spent 10 to 12 hours designing my home, even if you don't have options and it's finishes and it's colors and those kinds of things, it's my home. I am much less likely to cancel through the process. We have more delighted buyers, and if you have options, did I mention they spend more money, which is really nice? Happy customers, and they spend more, that's kind of cool. We avoid costly lawsuits because we have incredibly clean content with hundreds of thousands of products being pumped in by the manufacturers every night. You know that content is clean. You're not liable for that. That relates down to profits as well. Leads convert at 20 to 40%, and we're going to talk about that. We tend to relegate the design process or the design piece of that buyer journey to this very narrow sliver. First, you come out and see me, then you sign a contract, then at some point we're going to sit down and do options, then we move on, et cetera, et cetera. We have to think about design and personalization as going across the journey. And we have to back way up because, as Dennis said, if you're hoarding that information, you're actually hoarding what makes you really special. You're really hoarding that personalization, which is why I would buy new in the first place, right? So you have to think about the lead conversion aspect as well. We have more efficient design appointments and processes. So ILG runs Dennis's design center from an operational perspective, but yet it's powered from a technology perspective through the Envision product. And it just makes it that much more efficient. That relates to profits as well. Digital access extends to the field. We have all kinds of builders out there. They buy our particular product or they buy another online product. They buy it for the consumer, but the added benefit is your folks in the field are pulling up those pictures as well, going, yep, that's the right one. Yep, oh, okay, we'll go ahead, right? So these are things we know. And most builders don't argue with these things. I will tell you 20 years ago, when we first started talking about it, they'd be like, putting that online, that's heresy. I don't even understand. What are you doing, Missy? Like, this is just crazy. Today, now everybody gets it. You've got your phone. You know how the world works. Everybody gets these things. So the challenge is, how do you get from where you are to where you are today? And it is kind of game over because all of these builders have forged the path for you. They've gone through the learnings. They've gone through, okay, how do I get this implemented? How do I make it work? How does it fit with my physical design center? They've kind of gone through all of that. So it's kind of game over, and you're in a situation now where so many other builders are offering this personalization. It does put you at a disadvantage. I wouldn't have said that 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. Now it's switched, right? Now you're actually behind if you don't have online personalization and design. All right, so let's talk about how we get stuck, because we look at it and we go, oh, these things are all really true. This is really cool. I really should do it someday, right? And we can invent so many different reasons why we can't get to someday. So we're going to just break down some of the myths. And the first one is, just because I want to put this to bed, is our our buyers are fine doing things the old way. They're fine with getting in their cars, driving across the town, taking time off their busy schedules, coordinating with my partner to get there, cram in 3 hours of rushed appointments, feeling overwhelmed, nothing to reference, right? That is just the biggest myth that's out there. So if you still think this, like, I don't know how to help you. We did some recent surveys, and this is kind of jumping ahead because many of you are struggling. You don't have personalized design yet online. Guess what? Other builders who have that are leapfrogging over to full e-commerce online. So I can reserve a lot. I think we saw it this morning in one of our presentations. I can reserve a lot. I can get much further in the process. They're jumping through to e-commerce. So if you're still stuck on you haven't figured out how to do personalization and have some sort of online design, you're really, really getting even more behind. But as we looked in our survey, 55% would purchase a home online as they would a car. 70% would complete 30% or more of that home shopping and buying process online. And that's only going to increase as the Gen Zs start to come into the market as well. So that's the first myth. And again, spoiler alert, if you haven't quite gotten to personalization and design, you're really starting to get behind in the process. The next one is, and I hear this a lot, like, okay, I guess we need something online. I'm just going to turn on a version of my backend system or my CRM system. The challenge with that is think about your website. Think about how you carefully curate that experience. And you're watching time on site, you're watching for viewership, you're watching bounce rate. You carefully curate that and you work with somebody who actually knows how to do that and understands consumer psyche and shopping. Why would you turn in one of your internal systems or turn that experience over to someone who doesn't understand consumer behavior, psyche, and shopping? You've got to go with a partner that actually understands how to get people through that experience. And the reason is because you do care about certain metrics. And when it comes to design, what you care about is kind of their time spent on site. And again, this is if you're a builder who likes to offer option and upgrades, you can see a direct correlation between time spent on site and how much they actually spend. And then you can see it, we also did it on kind of VR and visualizers to see kind of that similar. And now today you can do both of those together. So you can pick up exponential effects. And again, but you've got to study that and you have to understand that and you have to put that best foot forward. All right, this is my favorite myth. This one is crazy. So we make the right decision, right? So we're all there. We've got a division president or the CEO, the guy who really, really, really understands about profit and really cares. You've got the head of design centers. You have the head of marketing. You got IT. You have purchasing people, which Dennis just absolutely adores them. And you're all like, yes, we have to do this. Our business depends on this. This is profit. Every day we don't do this, it's really, really hurting our business. And then this guy shows up. Could be a gal, may not look quite like that, but they are like the perpetual inquest of the Holy Grail, right? And you start to hear things like this. Okay, now we need all of our systems to connect and integrate in a real-time fashion before we can start, even though you've never had that before. But that suddenly becomes the perfect way to do this. And until you can do that...
They're looking for the tsunami.
They're
talked about it early, right? They're not going to move forward with technology until everything's perfect. And that is the antithesis of being a technology leader. You cannot afford to approach technology from waiting for the perfect tsunami to arrive.
Yep, and we've got more. You'll hear these things. And these people sound incredibly smart, and they are incredibly smart, but they're not looking at, we have to do this to survive. We have to do this to have profits. How are we going to get on a path to get there? They're sounding incredibly smart because they're going, well, did you think about that? That's not perfect. This is not good. I mean, it's exhausting. So another one is let's wait till we switch out our backend and CRM systems before we start. Okay, those things take like 10 years, right? And if you're going to tie the profits of your business and your customer experience to backend systems, you're really dead in the water, right? And I'm not saying those aren't incredibly important, and I'm not saying you shouldn't strive for integration, but if you make that a condition of getting started, you are dead in the water. And then I just put, let's rethink our entire options master list before we start. It's just like, whew, okay, you haven't looked at your options master list in 20 years. It's way too big, it's way too fat, you have way too many options. But if you wait for some corporate initiative to start to clean that up, even if you're a small builder, you know how that goes, right? So these are things that sound really smart, like we really should do these things before we go. They will kill you. They will absolutely kill you. So I just threw in, well, let's solve world peace while we're at it before we get started, because like that seems super reasonable. So my advice to you, my thought is, don't lose sight of the true quest. The true quest is not a big IT business process re-engineering initiative where everything is perfect. While that may be your goal and you want to get there, and that's awesome, and we can help you do that, get a crawl, walk, run strategy, right? So if you're not ready for kind of a systemic approach, Jesus, start with VR and visualizers, right? Start down that journey and that process. It at least would generate leads, and you start to get in that process, and you can get more sophisticated as you go along. But the key is, don't let the tail wag the dog. It's about profits, it's about your business, it's about your customer experience. These people are brilliant and smart, sometimes even prettier than this, but don't get bogged down in this strive for perfection. The next one is online design and options are just for the design phase. And I kind of mentioned this before. We used to hoard that information, and then we would have this physical design center process when we got to that step. Not sooner, not later, right here. You have to do it on this day, and you get 3 hours, and that's what we're going to do. The whole beauty of new is personalization. Whether you have options or packages, or you've made all the choices for them, however you approach it, it's continual through the process. It has to be way back up here in the marketing and sales proposition, or you're actually not going to get to the sale, right? They're actually not going to buy with you because they're not inspired. They don't know what it's going to cost. It's kind of what we talked about with Dennis. So really think about lead gen, and I will tell you, leads that are generated out of our system, those convert at 20 to 40%. So it's somebody that's on your website, they click into your online design center or online personalizational tool, whatever you call it. They click in, they explore, they save a wish list, they're super excited, and what have they done? It just went from being a Fulton home to my home. I have designed it, I've personalized it. No matter what level of sophistication you enable, those leads convert at 20 to 40%. Most builder leads convert at like less than 5%. Right? So really, really powerful. And you're always looking for ways. How do you get more engagement on your website? How do you get people to actually give you their email address and say, I want to talk to you? It's perfect. The other piece of the journey, so we said back it way up and include it up here in marketing and sales, is home ownership. How many calls do you get after you've sold the house, they moved in, and they want to know the paint chip number, the paint chip color? We had some builders who said it was like 20% of their warranty calls or customer service calls or whatever. Give them that information. So these tools live on with the warranty, the use and care. You know how you get those big fat binders and you print all that stuff out for them? Don't need it. They have it and they can access it. So don't think about your online design or personalization experience as just this sliver. Think about it across the entire life cycle of that customer. The next one is, since I do packages or pre-selected options, kind of the everything's included model, I don't need an online design tool. Actually, you need it even more, right? So if you have made decisions for your buyers and you have picked the best refrigerator for this price point, the best countertops, you've picked all of these great components, you better tell them what you selected and why it's amazing. Because they're going to other builders, right? And they're seeing, oh, I have options and I have choices and I have things. May not be your model, may not be what the buyer actually even wants, but you better tell them what you pick for them. And usually you have some color selections, you have some things. Again, to them, that's personalization. If all I can do is pick which granite countertop color I want, if that's it, it's still personal for me. It's personalized for me. So keep that in mind. And then the other thing is you need even more is kind of that lead gen piece. So you have to tell them what you selected for them, and then you have to give them something to do whatever level of personalization, and you want to keep them engaged in that process. Because again, you're trying to ward off the dreaded cancellations. Okay, this one's kind of exciting. Look at those dollar bills. Look at those like money flying around. This one cracks me up. This one is just kind of funny in a way. It's not in the budget. It's too expensive. We don't have that kind of cost. People. Get on the right side of the P&L. It's about profit. It's about dollars, right? We have builders, when they come in, they recoup their initial costs within a few homes. They make it up. Because again, it's not about budget. This is not about what we're spending on shrimp for the agents and the realtors. This is not about what we're spending on the billboards, where it is cost. Hopefully it has a return, you hope. This is an investment that you make that pays off within the first few homes, right? So the challenge sometimes is when we're talking to our builders, we may not be talking to the person that owns the P&L, who actually owns profit. Sometimes we are talking to people that just kind of have budgets, and they're right. It's not in their list of things to buy. It's not in the budget. But this is absolutely the worst reason not to move forward. So that was my myths. Again, I have 100 of them, but it is the season. Don't get scared now, right? Figure out where you want to go, make the right decision, crawl, walk, and run.